have learned from different ways. I don't quite remember everything that I have studied to learn English. I started learning with my mother because she is an English teacher. Since I was a kid, I would listen to music and words and movies, whatever she brought home that was in English. And then my official learning, I started on 5th grade. Music has helped me a lot too, because I've always liked songs, analyzing lyrics in order to know what they were saying. After that, I started reading books, easy books. Danielle Steele, not the hard ones, but, well, stories. I have always liked writing in English, writing poetry. So after I wrote a lot of things in Portuguese, I decided to start writing in English too, doing rhymes, etc. So it was a nice experience for me, because I was going after new words, hunting the dictionaries around, so I've learned a lot from that too. When I was finishing high school, I decided to study English at college. Maybe because of the influences of my mother, I wanted to do the same. I have always liked teaching, and I had worked before this decision with private classes and for friends, of course, not charging or anything, but I have done some work on this. So I decided to go to Unisul, that was a college close to my house, Portuguese in English course. I started giving classes in public schools. I spent 3 years working in public schools as a teacher. And then my brother came to me and invited me to go to the USA to spend some time there studying and living. And I dropped college because I was really willing to go there, do the immersion thing and learn from them, learn from the culture and study there. So I've lived 4 years in Boston, and there I studied at Harvard Extension School and Cambridge for Adult Education, and writing, and even Spanish after some time, to give me a break of English. Sometimes I had trouble like studying English.
This is my presentation. It's going to be today. Aí no chão foi dito que os professores vão escolher os vídeos que eu vou passar para eles. A few lines of poetry. And everything prepared.
Who close their briefcases and ask, what do you want?
Some more poems.
I tell them I am in poetry.
They'll say, I don't read poetry, or I don't like poetry, but what they mean is, I'm afraid of my yourself.
She doesn't have any time to say the comment section. Yeah, I can send everywhere. Yeah, fine. To begin with, who is Hettie Jones? Hettie Jones is a Jewish-American writer and poet. She worked at the Partisan as a young adult, at the Record Changer and Youth magazine, which she founded with her then husband Leroy Jones, an activist and poet too. The others are also magazines, important magazines in the US that published issues of the culture and counterculture. Married in 58 and divorced in 64, although in her memoir these years go and this relation goes a little bit further until 68, 67, 68. She herself was an activist in the 60s, fighting for the women's liberation and also for the civil rights. in the 70s then, because she didn't have opportunity to publish anything before because of the system and the prejudice around in the society, she began publishing children's books, poetry collections, fiction, non-fiction, and memoir after the 70s. Nowadays, she works at the New School in New York as a professor in the area of literature with creative writing. And she also works at the Underberg Poetry Center of the 92nd Street Y. It's a Jewish community center, and she also teaches creative writing. She met the Beats in the 50s. The Beat generation was a counterculture movement of the 50s which dealt with music, poetry, marginal arts, the bohemian life, all the counterculture in society, everything that they wanted to be against, opposed to, they expressed through their works, writing. And its themes were freedom, basically life experimentation, nature exaltation, you can see, sexual liberation, the creation of new forms of writing with no rules, as for instance the spontaneous writing, spontaneous prose of Jack Kerouac, right? No rules in regards to writing because there was no punctuation, they didn't worry about forms and structure, they worried about content and message, right? So there was a lot of non-conformity in their writing. Although the Beat generation wasn't all positive aspects, because we also had the women behind the scene, which is negative. We can see in the writing some injustice toward the women and the inequality of gender then. These are some pictures. There is the UK magazine that Hettie Jones founded with Leroy Jones. And this one here, the young girl, is Hettie Jones in the 50s, I guess, 50s or 60s. Some women of the Beat generation were Joyce Johnson playing the Prima, Joan Figure, Hettie Jones, Ruth Weiss, Brenda Fraser, Janine LePont Vega, Elise Cohen, also Lenore Kendall, and some people add Anne Waldman and some other women to the Okay. The significance of the research was to retrieve women's writing, to bring another perspective to history told by men, women's perspective to history, bring respectability to women's production, bring women's voice to literary debates, because we have a lot of literary debates, and a lot of them by men or with the men's production. The more important point is to become critical of the women's social and political position. My general objectives were to bring the silence, the voice of Hettie Jones as representative of the work and lives of the Beat generation women, and to discuss the relevance of her writing for feminist and racist studies. For specific objectives, I tried to answer those three questions. What major feminist countercultural issues can you find in Hettie Jones' work as a writer-poet? How did the subaltern social position of women affect the life and work of Jones, and how much of her work shows this debate? And how did race and racism impact her thoughts, feelings, and writing? To answer those three questions and reflect about them, Bell Hooks helped me with the concept of feminism as a movement to end sexism, sexist exploitation, and oppression. And she mentions this over and over in her book, Feminism for Everybody. Sylvia Albee helped, and Adrian Rich helped me with the concept of patriarchy as the social system in which men dominate and where oppression, exploitation, and gender inequality happen. Wittig says that women should fight for individual issues and subjectivities, and that we can find in Hettie Jones' writing. So Wittig helped me on that specific point, and Rich again saying that personal choices are not only personal but political. It's an act of resistance. So when Hettie Jones decided to marry an African American, embrace blackness and children, the African American children, she was acting and resisting. She was counterculture. For the discussions regarding race, I got help from Du Bois or Du Bois. I don't know because I've heard both. I don't know how to say that really. saying that the double consciousness is looking at oneself through the eyes of other. So, as Hettie Jones was Jewish, an American, a worker and a mother, a white with an African-American family, she had to deal with this double consciousness, to understand the world and to live inside the conservative society. Grace and Johnson said that Jones employs the formula to reveal anger, ambivalence, love, recognition, or redemption hidden in the daily life of individual living on the color line. And Moore helped me with his historical approach that encompassed the first inhabitants of Africa, conquest of lands, struggles between races and beginning of enslavement, and changes in the social status and prejudice against them. So it was in the last chapter of the dissertation I had this retrospective to try to understand why the black color has these positions through the historical perspective. To analyze a memoir, I had to understand what an autobiography was. So I went to Smith and Watson. Autobiography is a historical situated practice of the self-representation. It has memory, experience, identity, embodiment, and agency. All that we can find in Hettie Jones' memoir. Although it's a memoir because it's a period in a writer's life, a fragment of a history of the self-writing, including the political and cultural context. Hettie Jones wrote a little bit about her years of childhood, teenage years at college, but the focus is on the years that she got married. She spent married with Leroy Jones and got involved with the beat. This one is the memoir, How I Became Hettie Jones, 1990. This is the first poems collection that I analyzed, Drive, 1998. This is All Told, 2003. And this one is June 70, 2007. For the first example of feminist concerns in How I Became Hettie Jones in the memoir, I selected this part. I was seeing a photographer who had just bought a motor scooter, a hot item. We used to go for amazingly bumpy rides on the East River Drive. All over the city, there were ads for Vespa scooters. The driver was absent, but the passenger was wearing a tight skirt and had been closed on the bike side saddle, smiling, though the smallest pothole would have bounced her off and killed her. Killed her, right? Compared to hers, my life was real and risky, with open straddling tights and wide rides through the sea-leaden air of the magical New York night. Woo! I regret now not having the tongue to tell of it. Jones, 19. Yeah, so here we see the critical, sharp, witty, and a bit ironic discourse about the women, the woman depicted there in this scene. So it's not, Hettie felt that that was not the real woman, the real adventure of riding a bike. The woman was there posing side saddle as an object. It's not real when it's like that. So she was very critical of her own time and what was happening there. Women depicted as objects. She preferred then her own life that was risky and real. In regards to the feminist concerns in Hettie Jones' poems, I selected one about a woman, a writer woman, and the workplace. We can see subordinate position there in this poem, non-recognition of the women's work, lack of money, and the hidden identity. Cunningham says that women appreciate not being stereotypical 50s housewives, but are critical of injustice and lack of opportunity in publishing. So this is what happens in the poem and also in Hettie Jones' life, because she didn't have opportunity to publish as well. Parton, 2014, says that by and large, it is fair to say that the voice of female beat has been censored by publishers, historians, scholars, and indeed the male beat, perhaps to serve the larger goal of phallocentrism. So the counterparts were basically against a lot of the artistry of their women around, of the women that they worked with. And Lacar says that Hettie Jones let go of her own poetical ambition to support Leroy Jones' career and daughters and got frustrated. So we see in this story, a collective story of the Beat Generation women, we see a lot of women giving up artistry, ambitions to help the men. The men came first. And then when they got separated, divorced or anything, they began living their own lives, right? So this is the poem I was talking about. Homage to Frank O'Hara's personal poem. Over and over, the mind returns to the bent shoulders of the young woman who types over and over the poem until it is perfectly placed on the page the name of her husband, the name of her lover, the guilty thrill of juxtaposition as each gives to the poet what he keeps in his pocket. In her arms, she holds them over and over. Jones, 1998. In regards to race and racism, in how I became Hettie Jones, I selected this. For those who still don't believe it, race disappears in the house, in the bathroom, under the covers, in the bath bugs in your common mattress, in the morning sleep in your eyes. It was a joke to us that we were anything more than just the two of us together. We called the black-white lesbians next door the interracial couple. We were walking arm in arm. The catcalls began and continued. There were half dozen steady interracial couples in the village. When I understood that the cheers were for us, I turned, ready to fight or preach. Keep walking, he said. Just keep walking. It was his tone that made me give in, and only later that I realized that we might have been hurt or killed. Jones, 1998. So Grace and Johnson, about this passage, she says that we can read anger, ambivalence, and love within the words of Hettie Jones. She understands, she wants to fight for them, but she also has the view of, his view actually, from off-white society. Oh no, let's be silent, just keep on walking. So she has this ambivalence, she wants to go, but she can't because she also sees the other side. And she knows how society, how the conservative society of New York in the 50s was functioning. So here is Hettie, fighting with words. Brilliant. So for the poems, we can see less instances of race and racism, although in the memoir she speaks a lot about racism. But in the poems, I found very few actually. The minorities being erased in the white supremacist, patriarchal, and capitalist system. We can see that the African American people, or the African or people from Europe, the women from Europe, all the oppressed women around the world, she tries to bring and to show the problems. And Hall says that what continuously shapes our identity is someone from the outside world. This world has great impact on what people tend to believe is true. So because of society says that black community are these and that, and they are less important, less valued, they end up believing. And this for Hall is the problem. Society tends to think about, because we are here as someone like feminist studies college would say, we're reading her from a particular subject position, so it's you, but it's also me reading her here now, which is something that you didn't work on explicitly, so I think it's very important. And I know that, just to show you how important this is, I mean, I have my own story with the beats. My story, and then we have another story that has to do with the literary scene in Curitiba, which is also relevant. But my story, well, yes, I'm a sociologist, but I've always been really a sort of like cultural studies, humanities type person. I've always written, I translate, I write poetry, maybe, well, whatever, you know, I mean, I'm a woman of several passions at least. And when I wrote my doctoral thesis, which I defended here at the UFSC in the interdisciplinary program, now it's available in open access through Blucher, so it's online, it's a vozes encontros e desencontros da teoria feminista sociologia contemporânea. So, you know, I had to do this first chapter, which was like where second wave feminism began, which meant the 60s. So that was the chapter that I really loved doing the most, because I went and did a lot of research of read cultural history, social history, and a lot of testimonies of people who had been in
involved in the 60s and a lot of feminist activists from that time. So, but when I started writing, I started talking about the 50s. And this was, I defended in 2004, so I was really writing this at the beginning of the 2000s. And I myself had not read anything about the Beat Women, but I did talk about Allen Ginsberg. And I made some little comment about the women because I had read a wonderful book by Barbara Ehrenreich called The Hearts of Men, in which she talks about this whole history of male revolt that is a part of American culture, and she had a chapter on the Beats. This might have been like one of the first really articulate sort of critiques of the position of women in that generation, and she has a whole intricate thesis about how, in a sense, they were inheriting something which is was part of American history, which is a certain kind of male revolt, often really was expressed as a revolt against women, because women were easily seen as, you know, the ones who were like holding the men back and like forcing them to be breadwinners and members of the nuclear family. So, you know, this was like something, the first thing that I had ever read, and it made a huge impact on me, and it was in the back of my mind, and then it wasn't until much later, and I don't remember even exactly what it was that then, you know, years later turned me on to the fact that there was all this marvelous literature by these women who are still there, and all the guys dying because they drug and drank themselves to death. And the women took risks too, but they took different kinds of risks. This is a very interesting thing. This is something I'm interested in. What, you know, so we have Diane DePrima, okay, and then we have Hettie Jones, and we have Joyce Johnson, and a lot of them are still around, and they're getting old, you know, but which is also why I think, I was going to say this at the end, but I'll say it now that I'm thinking about it. But, so I want to say that, so I kind of got into that late, rather late. I mean, I could have been turned on to them earlier and read it, because a lot of the things that I started reading were already written before I started working on my thesis, right? But we are in an environment where their work still does not circulate. And so, just to let you know that in Curitiba, I don't know what it's like in Florianopolis, but there's this whole crowd that is formed around, like people who think that they're the heirs of Paulo Leminski and all these cool beat guys, right? And they're all men who, you know, have a large, well, they think of themselves as the Curitiba Bohemian literary types, right? And they range in age. It's cross-generational, because there are guys who are older than me and guys who are the age of, you know, my graduate students. They have a certain amount of power on the local literary scene, right? And, well, I've heard many women who have involved themselves with them complain, but fortunately for me, they're not. So no personal experience on that. Thank goodness. Anyway, but they were not at all interested in the women beat writers. They didn't know about them. I mean, we've talked to Calvire about this, but I don't have time to get into all of that. He's taking being much more open until just very recently. Some of you may know that maybe a couple of years ago, just very recently, there was a Spanish anthology, you know, Spanish bilingual edition of Beat Women Writers. But this is like 2 years ago that this finally happened. So, but very, very little translation of their work into Portuguese. So once this book came out in Spain, these guys picked up their little ears and started translating these women. But this is just at the time when we started our projects. This is all very recent, okay? So you have all this sort of classical stuff going on with like the canon as male, and then there's this new opportunity and they were never interested and they're going to usurp it. This is all very, very, very fresh. So this was, in fact, in the parentheses, there's, you know, this book, The Women Who Were Black, Girls Who Were Black, Girls Who Were Black. One guy who has just recently published a book of his translations of the Beat Women Writers, just right after we started, a couple months later, or maybe around the same time that we did our edition of that Curitiba Literary Magazine, which, you know, that's available online for those of you who don't know about it. My students and I, where we translated a bunch of them. Well, he translations of them, and he called it Girls Who Were Black. So, I mean, I don't even know how he got away. This is just maddening, because he stole his deep women's studies scholars from São Paulo or something. He stole the title of this book of deep women's scholarship. So, I mean, this is like, so this, you know, comes to something else that I wanted to say, which is, I think, in a sense, it's showing that also one thing that you should still think about doing is think a little bit more about, to expand on why it is they inspire you so much, instead of this more general feminist identification, because there's a lot of other stuff there that could be worked through. And, okay, my tendency would be to talk way too much, so I'm going to have to make sure I move ahead. You know, but I mean, I think that your work does show some of her qualities, which are, you know, my students were quite surprised because they didn't imagine that she was going to have so much literary quality as she does. And you mentioned something about the beat writers and the fact that it was more content and form, but it's form and content. I mean, that's one of the things that they gave us, and that is that innovation in terms of reverbs and different kinds of, but anyways, I'll leave this to the literature. Okay, so then, I guess as a sociologist and a gender studies person for a long time, I would say that in the structure of the work itself, you know, like maybe you could think about doing that. Well, if this becomes an article, of course, you'll have to bring them together. And the very tension that Hettie Jones felt in her life in that regard, because you talk about like maybe how she relates to this hierarchy of oppressions, which is in fact a very oppressive thing that people try to stick on us. Well, we have to choose, you know, what kind of oppression is worse and what kind you have. Well, intersectionality tries to take us beyond that, but she for sure was a woman who suffered, I mean, who was deeply affected, as all of us are, by her gender condition. She opposes all forms of oppression. And at the same time, she felt like she had to, like, say, okay, racism is worse. But really, that was a huge problem for her because it's not worse. They're all equally horrible. So, you know, right? So, of course, these are issues that plague second-wave feminism, and as we were saying, continue to be huge issues, you know. But these theories of intersectionality also are an attempt to go beyond that. So it would be very good if you could, at some point in the near future, I hope you have the opportunity to go more deeply into the whole wealth of sociological theories of gender and race that exist. Right? I say sociological, but of course it's really, these theories are a product of interdisciplinary scholarship. But there's something very sociological about them too, you know, because I'm really not a sociological chauvinist. I'm very cultural studies myself, but you know, it's like history, even if it's political economy, all of these different fields coming together to produce theories that we could call sociological, because sometimes anthropologists are a little lacking in them too, but not always, you know. I don't defend any discipline. And then the other thing that I really felt was missing would be, you know, because sometimes, like, there's a lot of feeling in it, and you're going in the right direction, but you could do more. So that was sort of the way I felt in general, and these theories would help you. So I wanted to ask you if you have ever read Nina Faust, because she is somebody who I sort of happened upon, because she is a very quite well-known literary theorist in the United States, but she's very interdisciplinary, and I got to know her work because she has this book, The Gender of Modernity, which is such an amazing book that I think that everybody who studies sociology, I say this to my students all the time, it's like it would be on the list of the 100 books you have to read, because it's really a very sociological book, but which brings sociology and literature together, very powerful. And it's an antidote to a long history of like male-centered readings of what modernity is. And then she does this also with the concept of post-modernity in another book. And then she has this awesome book which is called Literature After Feminism. And then she has even another one which is organized around women and gender and literature. And I think I'm not confusing the two of them, but it's organized with women as whatever. She has like about 6 books, and all of them are really worth reading. And my sisters went, Rita Falski, My sister's actually wants to an American literary, MLA, I think it is, one of these big events in the U.S., and she was the keynote, and then they already knew that I was going to meet her, and then they went to the bathroom, and she was there, like, just getting, freshening up, and they said, you know, you're my sister's idol. She goes, she was to my sister's idol. That is so sweet. But, you know, so all of my students who work with the new generation writers, she's been like one of our really important people. And so, but, you know, the thing about it is that in one of her, in one of her books, I think it's Literature After Feminism, she sort of goes back, and this is not an old book, I don't remember when it's from, it's fairly recent, so she revisits all of that feminist scholarship that started like in the 70s.
71.
Yeah. And so that it's also good for you that way because you can read her first and then you can go back and see which of those authors you should go back to. But, you know, she does a very amazing synthesis, and she talks about how, for example, the first generation of feminist literary theorists were, you know, okay, usually white, middle-class women reading, white, middle-class Victorian women fiction. But this is not to say that, you know, what they did wasn't precious. It's just that and so then she says, if we read the literature and the criticism, there's a metaphor that emerges, which would be the mad woman in the act, she calls it. So I don't have to explain to you where that comes from. Okay. So, okay, great. That is a possible metaphor of women writing, but it has its time and space circumscribed. And then she looks at another kind of literature written by other women, such as maybe Orlando, and then some of the first so-called lesbian literature. And she develops another metaphor, which is woman as masquerade. So, you know, and it even converges with her contemporary poetry, but it is a metaphor that she develops out of the literature and the criticism of these non-binary works, which really show how gender is performative, to use today's jargon, right? So that's another possible metaphor. Then she has even a third metaphor, and all the time she tells us, listen folks, these are metaphors that I have developed for reading different kinds of women writers, right? Because obviously women are writing more and more and more and more, and so even if in the beginning women's literature looked at this restricted group, what has happened now is they're all over the place, and they're really different from one another. So you're not going to try to put them all into one category. So you read, and if you develop a metaphor that helps you read particular groups of women in particular contexts, it condenses and it helps you to really understand the writers in relation to their time, in relation to us, and to their work, of course, right? So then the third metaphor that she comes up with is homegirls. And that is a metaphor that she has developed out of reading Black women writers and Chicana women writers and women of color, but who write in English, okay, because this is English language. And it's very interesting because if for the mad woman in the attic, home is largely a repressive space, for homegirls who are women of color living, and usually they come from forms of inequality based on class and race and gender, still the home can be a haven, as they say, in a hateful world. Haven in a harsh world, but in a hateful world, because that's the way I would put it. And I don't know if you know, for example, well, one of my favorite writers is somebody's names. I mean, she's a big star. She's a Chicana women's writer. Woman writer. And she is an awesome poet and a novelist. We've done a bit of translating some poetry because, you know, when I read this woman, I say, it's just not possible that no one's translated them into Portuguese because not only do, you know, we have to go out there like on the 8th of March and read their works on the street, right? Because they have to be read because they're so incredibly awesome and galvanizing and strong. So that's why we translate them. My group and I of students and people who have not been my students, but in that literary circle of just like poetry. But Sandra's work really shows this, I think, in her novels show it, because there is this how did you use the anger, the ambivalence, the love, you know, they come together in very interesting ways. She shows that quite well. And I think that a lot of black women write is the famous ones, you know, like the most like Toni Morrison, you know, any number of these great women, North American women writers. They also show this. They show how, in fact, home is often a place, now African American culture, right, Alice Walker, where women, I won't get into it, women are like really the most important protagonists in the stronghold of the family. So there's a whole other situation there, you know, and I think like some of Alice Walker's work show how it can be a place where women women of different generations are supportive of each other. So you see how different the homegirl metaphor could be to the mad woman in the attic. So this is a very powerful literary theory way of working with intersectionality. So of course, you know, I'm completely in awe of the way Regis deals with all of this in that fantastic book of hers, which we use all the time. And then finally, so what did we try to do? Well, when I started to read Hettie Jones' poetry, and my students and I were reading with these big women writers a couple of years ago in that course that I taught in Chiba, said, okay, folks, we got to think of a metaphor. Just as a game sort of thing, you know, and sometimes as it would, you know, we don't worry if it doesn't work, it just doesn't work, you know. You don't have to do this for 605. But, you know, we're going to try. And then I thought, drive. And most of those poems have a woman's relationship to her car. That's the center. That is fabulous book. So then I came up with this idea that our metaphor would be the woman at the wheel. And so we used that. You know? And I mean, to me, that was like a good metaphor for beat generation women, especially because I had read some other things about how to beat men. Just the importance of the road. But okay, great, the road. But you know, they're not like my cowboys riding around on horses. I mean, that's like my childhood fantasy was me on horseback. But no, it was them on the highways. And so there is my collaborator in Andes, this history professor at UPR, she gave me a chapter from a book where this woman talks about the importance of the car for these beat generation men, right? And she does look at it from a gender perspective. We have the reference. Yeah, I've seen her. So, you know, it's like, okay, this is really important because you know, in the 1950s, they are having a chance. The guys also, you know, they're not hopping freight trains. I mean, a lot of them wouldn't have done that. So they're not, they take their risks, but, you know, like the hobos who were hopping freight trains took risks. They didn't, right? And everyone in their risks. So they had cars, you know, and they went out on the highways because they had pretty good highways, right? So think about it, and then you just problematize the whole notion of the road and the car. So that's why it seemed to us that that would be a good metaphor. So that's one that we've used a lot. But I mean, like I said, most importantly from reading her book, we developed kind of a methodology, which is based on a theory of intersectionality, right? And I didn't really ask you too many questions, except what you
More contributions.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Because
it's fresh.
Yeah, no, you don't know.
The Ministry of Education that is
that's why.
crazy.
Okay, all right. Thank you for being here for a second.
Thank you.
Now you have time to respond now or ask her some question that something is not going to be here.
Yeah. A lot of names here, but I get to
Rita tells me I have a book, but I can't quite do I can't remember which one I have at all. It's neither of these.
It's not the one that
It's
like
an old one.
because maybe I don't know her.
Yeah,
She's completely, she's a huge contribution to our work. But then, of course, the other thing that I didn't say, obviously, there are women here in Brazil who have worked on some of the same issues, so they're not really here either. You can bring them in.
Thank you very much for your contribution and comments. And I took some notes.
very quickly. Let me see here. Then, if you have Susanna, this Frida Falski, is it? Falski. I would like to go. Do you think that we should add then perspective from her or anything like that to that, or is it just?
I would recommend it. I leave it up to you and your advisor. You know what you want to do with it. But I do think that one of my students found a lot of these books as PDFs that can be downloaded. So you should probably go back to that page that we have and look and maybe talk to some of them because others make digital copies.
Yeah, well, my usual attitude is whatever you can include.
Yeah, because I
But
have
otherwise,
very
think about the PhD.
Yes,
Right,
right.
because otherwise it would be another year.
Yes, that's right. And keep in mind that we do, people here in Brazil do need to be, women need to be producing scholarship and translations because otherwise these guys, they're just going to go and do it.
Exactly. No,
It's serious, you know.
I know. Yeah. I will try to. Yeah, I don't know if I can translate. So yeah, I'll go after this and try to add the notes that I had to add. I was reading and getting to know a lot of things in the beginning of my master because my TCC, my graduation, was more focused on linguistics, and then for the masters, because of her, she's to blame. She showed me in one of her classes, the beats, and mentioned women. And then I thought, well, professora, I found her in the corridor, the professora, as mulheres também produziam, blá, blá, blá. Yes, Halessa, yes, so I may study, right, for the master. Yes, I don't know if you remember that, you know. Yes, but then she gave me this idea, and then I went after women of the generation and began searching and knowing the production and stuff, and then I really enjoyed. And so I was in 2015. I was like a year considering myself a feminist because I didn't know what it was before. Yes. I was a feminist for a year. Yeah, a year more or less like that. Because I had always complained about the things, the position, and I saw the injustice. I was always complaining, but I didn't have the access to theory. To what people, women were writing about this. So when I got to these theories, I began to think, well, perhaps I am a feminist then, because this happens with my life. I see and I feel so much trouble, and I want to correct society and a lot of things. It's like injustice here, injustice there. And because of that, some women, some novels that I read and had the perception of the position of women, but I didn't have a background to that. So that was my problem. And then in the beginning of the master studies, I was just trying to know